After years of experimentation and study on seduction, girls, and social skills, I discovered that if you want to own any girl, all you need to do is speak to her emotions, not her mind. And the quickest way to do this is by using a technique I like to call listen like a therapist. When a young man talks to a girl, after a short period, the girl's mind categorizes him into one of three categories: potential boyfriend, friend, or someone she doesn't want to meet again. For me, I was always in the third category, someone she doesn't want to meet again. This was because I was socially awkward, and often, you who are listening to me now, I was more socially inept than you, because from a young age, I was very introverted and didn't know how to talk to people. After a while, I started learning some social skills, and I began to know how to talk, which made me socially acceptable. At this stage, when I started talking to girls, I moved from this category to that one. I became just a friend, and here was the shock. Why? What's the secret? What mistake was I making? Then I started learning how women think. I read every book or article about women. I started learning, and the first thing I discovered was that the difference between a boyfriend and a friend is emotion. If you want a girl to see you as a boyfriend, you must know how to stir her emotions. You must speak to her emotions. I began applying this principle with girls and started moving from the friend category to the boyfriend category. I understood the secret. So what do I mean when I say you should stir her emotions? Listen to me well now, because I will walk you through everything step by step. There are two ways to stir emotions and feelings. Either these feelings are entered into her or they are brought out of her. Initially, the girl has a lock on the door of her emotions. You can't put feelings into her. This method cannot be used at the beginning, but you can bring them out. The moment you make her express feelings, you will have opened the door to her emotions. And don't worry, I will delve deeper into this matter in upcoming episodes of the series on how to attract women. But if you want a small idea on this topic, you can watch this video where I explained how you can put feelings into her. Anyway, how can you make her express feelings? By using the technique of listening like a therapist. How will you apply this technique? You will ask her emotional questions and listen to the answers like a therapist. What do I mean by emotional questions? I will explain how to ask these questions and give you examples of how to answer them, and I will explain everything. When I first read about this topic and started researching it, I found that some people give you a number of questions and tell you to ask them, and the girl will answer you, and that's it. But no, it doesn't work like that. I will give you examples of questions to ask later, but you need to understand, not just memorize. You need to understand what emotional questions mean and create them yourself according to the circumstances you are in. So, we humans, to create an emotional connection, need to talk in an emotional way. We need to express our feelings, and to make the other person talk in an emotional way, you need to ask an emotional question. I'll give you an example. Imagine you are a girl. Just imagine, I came to you and started talking about studies or your job, and you start telling me you study computer science and do this and that and that. What is this? This is logical communication, meaning you are talking about something logical in a cold way. But imagine if I asked you what you study and you said computer science, and then I asked you if you like this field. You can say no, you can say yes, but imagine if I asked you why. Why do you like it, or why don't you like it? Here you will start expressing those feelings you have inside about what you like and what you don't like, and this will make you talk more and express more feelings. This is the first condition of an emotional question, a question that makes the woman express her feelings. Those feelings can be anger, sadness, hatred, admiration, passion, etc. Another example, imagine two people talking. Guy, where do you live? Girl, New York. Guy, wow, New York, that's a beautiful city. In this case, what happened? Nothing. Just a cold, logical conversation. After a few hours, the girl will have forgotten this conversation as if it never happened. But let's see someone who understands what we talked about today. Where do you live? Girl, New York. New York. How can you live in a city like that? Note, if you don't understand why I said this answer, please, when you finish this video, watch the entire series, because I explained this. Anyway, let's go back to our conversation. Girl, why? What's the problem? It seems like a very noisy city to me. Do you like New York? Here, my brother, you have asked an emotional question related to feelings and started applying the technique. Let's continue the conversation. Girl, yes, of course. Why? Let's stop again to see what happened. When the girl answered with this answer, yes, of course, even though it's an answer to an emotional question, it didn't meet the second condition of an emotional question. The answer should be long. The girl's answer should be long and expressive, meaning if you ask a girl if she likes New York and she says yes, don't just stare at her, ask why. And here the girl in the second example will start to express and start to talk and start pouring out her feelings to you and start talking emotionally. Here comes the second step. Listen to her carefully. At this moment, you should try to get her her to express herself as much as possible. You need to listen and not interrupt her. When she starts talking and sharing her story with you, at this moment, you are not talking to her mind, but to her emotions, to that instinct responsible for love. But is that all? No, this is just the first step. The emotional question is merely a key to unlock something bigger. It is just a key to the door of emotional conversation. After you ask her and let her tell you her story and express herself, it's time to turn the emotional question into an emotional conversation. Let's return to the scenario. Imagine the girl answers and starts talking and reaches a point where she says, "I like the Metropolitan Museum of Art there. By the way, if you don't know, this is a famous museum in New York." In this situation, you can stop her and ask, "Wow, do you like art?" "Yes, of course." "Then why?" And once again, blah, 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 blah. And you continue like this, listening to her and each time transitioning from one thing to another, focusing on always letting her talk about emotional things. It doesn't matter what she talks about. The important thing is to immerse her emotions in the conversation. Now, I want you to compare this conversation with the first one. The first conversation she will have forgotten after 10 minutes. The second conversation will stay in her mind for years because you stirred her emotions in it. And let me not forget to warn you about a mistake many people make, which is the interview mode, where they keep asking questions and the girl answers, and then they ask more questions and they just keep asking. Please don't do this. The questions should be related to each other, one thing complementing another. And now you may ask me, should I not talk? Should she just keep talking and I just listen? Listen carefully. In a conversation with any girl, she should be talking 7% of the time, and you only 30%, especially in the beginning. Always let her talk a lot. This is a topic we will continue to discuss in more detail in the upcoming episodes of the series. Now, let me give you examples of emotional questions you can ask. The social psychology researcher Arthur Aaron created a list of questions he called 36 questions to fall in love. He conducted this experiment with 100 people, pairing a man and a woman who didn't know each other, giving them this list and having them ask each other these questions. By the end of the experiment, all the participants felt a significant attraction, and some even continued their relationships and got married thanks to this experiment. The 36 questions aim to reveal personal details and behaviors related to intimacy. They are designed to increase intimacy with the other person. There are 3 sets of questions, each containing 12 questions. The intensity of the questions gradually increases, both within each set and across the 3 sets. I won't be able to present the entire list in this video, so I'll give you the first 10 questions. If this video reaches 2,000 likes, I'll share a PDF file with all 36 questions in the first comment. 1. Would you like to be famous? In what way? 2. Before making a phone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say? Why? 3. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? 4. What would constitute a perfect day for you? 5. When did you last sing to yourself, to someone else? 6. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you choose? 7. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be? 8. Do you have a secret hunch about how you will die? 9. What is your most terrible memory? 10. For what in your life do you feel most grateful? These questions I've given you now, I don't want you to memorize them. I want you to understand them. I want you to grasp the concept. The secret is not in having the questions and asking them. The secret is knowing how to turn a regular conversation into an emotional one. So here we will move on to something very important, and I'll tell you a story that happened to me so you can understand. Some time ago, I was dating a girl and we had been dating for about 3 weeks. I had asked her to come over to my place. What you need to know is that this girl was not the type to have sex on the first night. She believed that sex should happen after a long time and only after being in a committed relationship. We had just started dating and were just getting to know each other. Before she came over, she told me, "Look, I'm coming over just to spend time at your place. We won't do anything beyond kissing and innocent cuddling. We won't do anything sexual. You know how I am." I said no problem. She came over and we sat down and started talking. I began thinking about something we could do together, and an idea struck me. I said to her, "Let's try the MBTI test." By the way, the MBTI test is a personality test. You go to a website that has this test and you start answering many questions, and in the end, it gives you your personality type. She agreed, and I started asking her the questions from the test. With each question, I tried to get her to elaborate and tell me stories about herself. After a while, and before we finished the test, we ended up having sex. Why? Now listen to me carefully. For us men, sexual desire is triggered visually. We see a beautiful girl and we automatically desire to have sex with her. This is how our sexual desire works. Women, however, feel sexual desire when they start experiencing emotions. And if you are the reason for these emotions, you can consider yourself as having won her over. This is the first lesson I want you to learn from this story. The second lesson is that you need to be creative. Don't just go up to her and start asking her questions. You'll come off as robotic or like someone who watched a YouTube video telling you to ask these questions and then you went to ask them. But is this enough? No, if you only apply this technique, you might end up in the therapy zone with the girl. You need to implement everything we've learned in this series. Please, just try what I've told you today, and trust me, you'll be amazed by the results. Note, this doesn't have to be applied only with girls. You can also use it with people if you want to create a deep and memorable connection. If you want me to make a video about social skills, please let me know in the comments. By the way, if you have any problems or questions, please write them in the comments so I can know what issues you have and talk about them in the upcoming episodes of the series. Don't forget to subscribe.